Welcome. Welcome to Internet Insanity.
Internet insanity.
Hello, welcome to Internet Insanity, the podcast that deals with the frustrations of the internet and the anxieties of an artist putting yourself out there. I'm David, the co-host.
And I am Ezra, the other co-host. Take the clickbait out of art.
Yes, take that clickbait out of that special thing we call art. So this is the first episode.
Yeah, we're redoing it. We wanted to come clean and just say it because the thing is, when you start a show, a podcast, the first few episodes, like I think that we both knew that they were going to be a little bit thrown together, a little haphazard, a little, flying by the seat of our pants, if you will. And upon listening back to them, we were like, you know what? Let's redo that.
Yeah. And then in the third episode, we'll explain how I was overwhelmed and overloading my mind with all this information and totally mentally clogged up for the first two episodes.
Yeah. So that's going to be the third episode is actually going to be the third episode.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But this may or may not be our 12th time doing this now.
Exactly.
However, this is number one.
Yeah. And if that's stressing you out, then that's how it goes.
Yeah. If that's stressing you out, just forget we said anything.
Yeah. I think that's just the internet's fault, not really our fault. We need, and the idea of content. I hate that word so much.
Really? Why do you hate that word?
It's just like, it just sounds so like industrial and corporate, like, oh, check out this content. Like, imagine like if Van Gogh made a painting and it was like, amazing. And then someone was like, do you have any other content?
Ew.
Yeah.
I hate that now. David.
Well, you don't have to.
I know I don't have to. I don't have to do anything.
Right. I'm
literally telling you, I hate that now.
How did you think of it before I just made that
I didn't
point?
think of it. I was just like, this is what people call it. Like, there's so much of it out there now that it's hard to call all of it art because it's like, I think people like to categorize art as like this more like, I don't know, hard to come by or like a little less like
specialized.
No, like with content, it's like even like a little like post about your new project coming up is content, right? Because you're just like flooding someone else's feed with like a promotion for your art that might happen in the future.
Right.
So calling that promotion art instead of content is like weird.
Right.
Because the art is promoting the art, but that is how it is. Like, I don't know.
Well, my guess is that if we called it art, which I think it is, it would be harder to feel. It would be harder to be okay with spamming your followers.
What do you mean?
Well, so say you've got an art project coming out, and then you really want a lot of people to come and see this, and you want to attract as much traffic as you can. If it was like, oh man, I have to make art so people can see my art, I just feel like it has like a more like careful attention given to that piece of medium. Whereas like, if it's just content and you're just trying to attract followers, then it's just content. And like, everyone's on their phones and you got to attract the eyes and you got to like get the clicks and you got to get that clickbait. So just content, and I guess to me, I mean, part of like what this podcast, how it got started was that a lot of it is insane. Like attracting the social media apps already have addictive properties built into it. We all know that.
Yeah.
And so it's already it's already taking up your time and energy and well-being. But that's how it goes, I guess, quote unquote. And then having artists uh, support that and play into that machine, to me, is just people just go, oh, that's how it is. But I know for myself and a lot of my friends, it's really overwhelming and kind of like repulsive and just like disheartening.
Yeah.
That to me is like a big word. It's just disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to that. Like, just the idea that I have to create my art, the art that just naturally spills out of my soul, right? That just kind of happens when I let go and I just make the art. And then if I want anyone to actually see it or listen to it or whatever it is, now I have to like refocus my brain into, trying to get, my numbers up, or like weave it into the algorithm somehow, or just like try to trick the system in order to like, shed more light on my stuff and my content.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such a different feeling than like the innocence of just like making art from such a pure space in my heart.
Yeah.
And then immediately putting on like my money making hat and just like, all right, now how are we gonna mass produce this? Like, how are we gonna send this out to the people? But it's like, it's coming from a genuinely good place, because I think it's only natural, if you work on something so hard and you pour yourself into a project, you want people to see it. Like, you want people, like, it's natural.
Yeah. I definitely think some people take it more naturally than others.
True.
And artists, I think a lot of them don't have the skills of mass marketing.
Mm-mm.
And to me, there's a lot of artists I know work, like such as myself, work really, really hard on being good at their art, like their craft. They take on like the discipline of, and they try to gain some mastery, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of patience. And then after all of that, now the situation is like, okay, now get your numbers up before we showcase you. So it's not even like, hey, I'm really like, I've worked really hard on this. Can someone help me like market it? Because I just don't have the skills to do that. And this is coming from a really vulnerable place. So it's already weird enough to like kind of market it. And I feel like now with social media, it's like, well, that's her problem. You need to get at least 10,000 followers before we're even going to like help you out with ads or do anything with it, because there's no incentive for us to help you out, because we don't really see that as like a viable business. But the thing is, like, those marketers, I feel, need to take a risk just as much as the artist is taking a risk. And that's just my personal opinion, and I think a lot of people resonate with that. But I also think, there's other people that love the limelight, and they love ads, and they love taking selfies, and they love like participating, dealing with the numbers. And I just think there's a lot of uncertainty around this discussion. So that's what I'm looking forward to with this podcast, is interviewing different kinds of artists, like ones that are really comfortable with manipulating the algorithm, and they just find it really fascinating. And then the other artist who doesn't even have a social media account.
Yeah, I think that there's room for everybody, and everybody deserves to be to have some sort of audience if they want one. Because I do believe in my heart of hearts that there's an audience for everybody. I really think that. So because this is our first episode, I think that it's important for the listeners to know who we are.
Yeah.
So tell me, David, as I now put on my interviewer hat, what are you?
What am I?
What are you? What are you?
I usually just tell people I'm a musician.
Who are you?
Zen Buddhism, and I like neuroscience books. That's actually what I would put on my Tinder profile when I was using it.
Okay, wait, say it again.
I'm a musician, a Zen Buddhist, and I love neuroscience books. Now, let me tell you how embarrassing the Tinder profile actually was.
Okay.
So I thought these were all such nerdy characters, or nerdy what?
Characteristics.
Yes. I thought they were all such nerdy characteristics, and I didn't have any like really nice photos because I didn't know how to do it. So I thought this was clever. So I wrote, this is so embarrassing to say. I wrote strike 1, musician, strike 2, Zen Buddhist, strike 3, neuroscience book, or reads neuroscience books. I'm a turkey. Now, when you're bowling and you get 3 strikes in a row at the end, it's called a turkey. So that was like my way of being like, I'm a really interesting person. But I...
Oh, wow.
Yes.
God, I fucking love you. Oh my God. Yeah.
But looking back on it, it's always like, that's my experience with the internet. It's always like, looking back on it, that didn't make any sense. Or like,
David is bright red right now, everyone. Yeah, if I had come across that Tinder profile, what would I do? I'd be like, ooh.
yeah, you'd be like, this is a crazy person.
Well, no, I'd just be like, ooh.
Oh, okay.
I'd be like, oh, he's just one of those white guys who thinks he's really interesting because he reads books.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
is a
definitely
Buddhist.
true. Yeah.
A Buddhist book reader. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I just swiped past 5 of those.
Yeah. Where I talk the whole date about what's wrong with the world.
Yeah.
Nah, I was actually really good first date.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind of first date are you?
Well, my rule of thumb when I finally got my mental health relation stuff in order was just be friends. So that's what the day would be. I'd just be a friend. I wasn't trying to like look for anything. And I felt if there was more to it, then that would appear, like that would develop naturally. So it was just a really good first date because I wasn't like trying to like investigate or see where the potential was, or like, you know, wonder what type of sex stuff. You know, I just didn't have any of that. It was just like, tell me about yourself. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's cool.
yeah, I'm a Zen Buddhist, and I wouldn't be like, I'm a Zen Buddhist, and that means I transcend. You know, like that. It was just like, if you were curious, then I would answer. If not,
Yeah.
that was fine too.
That's cute.
Yeah,
I like
think,
that.
Yeah, I think that's also why I have a hard time posting my music online, because to me it's just like, this is my stuff. If you like it, like it. If you don't, don't. But I made a SoundCloud, and literally, if you type in SoundCloud David Jean in the search and you put the apostrophes over David Jean, it still won't show up. So you have to type in soundcloud.com/David Jean to like go to the page.
Yeah.
But like part of me is just like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to like advertise it. I'm just trying to be authentic. I just want people to like it or hate it. I made the music. I'm comfortable with it. And I'm not trying to like make it more than it is. And like, you can't even search it on Google. It's like, you know what I mean? Like this type of like self-bolstering.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. So I think that's why I get uncomfortable when you're like, oh, who are you? Because I know in our description, it's like cishet white guy. Yeah. It's like, and then what's funny to me is like, I'm like, the only time I call myself a cishet white guy is when I'm talking about when I'm talking with you about certain things, or when I'm talking to my friends about my relationship with you, and how there's this dynamic that normally should erupt in like, arguments or like
Fire.
yeah. And like you can say black people and like it's not going to turn into a giant argument and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this weird like, oh my god, race. Like even though I totally am scared about that stuff, like I'm just, you know what I mean? I go, well, it's interesting because I'm a cishet white guy and Ezra's a Latinx trans guy, and we have these like different opinions and
but we somehow
different perspectives.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say different opinions
because I think we have very similar opinions, but we definitely we can't help but view the world in a different way because
Right.
like our lenses are just so vastly different.
Right.
Which is like I think it's sweet. Like we're like a puppy and a kitten that are best friends.
Yes. Let's do some puppy kid best friend stuff, and then we'll come back after the break.
Meow.
Meow.
Wait, who's the puppy and who's the kitten?
All right, and we're back.
We decided that I'm the puppy and David's the kitten.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes sense.
I'm the more fragile one, for sure.
And I'm the more rambunctious
Yeah.
one, I think. Yeah, and I tend to lick strangers, weirdly, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. So, what about you? Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, David already kind of told you that I am a Latinx trans guy. So that's like, I guess, that's a how I see the world, or the perspective I see the world from. Meaning, I don't know, for people who don't know what trans guy means, like that means that like the doctor pulled me out of my mom and was like, this is a girl. I am sure of it. And then, 17 years later, that little girl was like, that doctor was fucking wrong.
Mm.
And, and so I've been transitioning since I was pretty much like 18. And my parents didn't disown me, so that's good.
Mm.
And, quality of life is exceptional.
Mm.
And I'm pretty happy. I started making music when I was like 16,
Mm-hmm.
and only started really like getting into it a few years ago. Like actually taking it seriously, because for my whole life I was just sort of like, oh, I'm just like I write these songs, but like
right,
that's it. Like I write songs, and if you have a guitar when we're camping, like I'll play you one.
Did you think you were destined for fame?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of us do. Yeah.
I did, but I didn't know why, and I didn't know how.
Cool.
I was just like, I tend to have, I tend to make friends wherever I go. I tend to attract people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think because of that information, I was just sort of like, I could be famous, and I'm pretty, and I have talent. So I was like, okay, like, yeah, like I check all of these boxes. Like I could probably be famous. But then I also struggle with mental health issues. And so, just being trans in general is like kind of a speed bump.
Damn.
It is.
Yeah. Just blunt. I'm just like,
it's true. Like, I think about, I have to use my brain for like anxiety, I think a lot more than cis folks could even comprehend.
Yeah.
And I'm stating that like I really believe that.
Yeah.
Even if you're a cis person who struggles with anxiety, like you definitely have anxiety for sure, but like
right,
y'all don't even know the half of it sometimes.
Yeah, because the stuff that I know about anxiety, like the environment how you view the environment plays a big part in it. Exactly.
And this idea of like how I'm being perceived in the world, like is so amplified when you're thinking about your safety as a trans person, especially if you don't like pass quote unquote as cis. or if you don't pass as the gender that you identify as, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, just a lot of anxiety, right? And like that can stop me from doing anything. It can stop me from doing the dishes, and then it can also stop me from like promoting my art.
Yeah.
You know, in a major way. Definitely not a victim of my situation, but I can acknowledge that I've had setbacks because of my circumstance for sure. And I try to just keep picking myself back up, and that's how I've eventually gotten some music out. And it's been really hard, especially battling this pressure from social media, and wanting like just it's just insane.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Do you? Yeah, sounds so messed up. But
What?
Someone being like, "Hey, do you have any more of that trans anxiety content?"
Oh my god. Honestly,
I'm just saying it.
Yeah, no, but it's real. It's so real. Like, I've noticed, the best, the thing that, I mean, most trans people who have the capabilities of having a significant before and after side-by-side picture, because not everyone, transitions medically who's trans. So like some trans folks don't have a before and after that's significant, but if you do, and you post that shit, that is like fucking like the juiciest bait for people. Like it's so intense. Like I'll post like some art or whatever and get like 600 700 likes on it, and I'll be like, fuck, like, all right, like I just have to like wake my followers back up, and then I'll post a before and after, and it'll get like 2,000 3,000 likes. Just because it's like porn to them. Like, people really love a before and after picture.
Oh yeah. I was following an intermittent fasting group, and then you'd see someone who was like 500 pounds, and now they're like 140.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and they're just like really happy, and it's like inspirational.
Yeah. There's validity to it.
Yeah, there's total validity to it. I just feel like expressing that I don't like the internet. I don't like having to do it, and I do sound like a bitter hater. And I'm not. I just know that what I'm comfortable with. So that's where I think that's also why I find these conversations really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of you that is demonstrating a real important part of society that needs to be discussed about like trans lives and like their safety and just simple dignities as being just a part of society.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you felt bad and you wanted 3,000 likes. You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's just weird. That's all I'm saying.
It's a weird thing to balance, because I know that having a platform is a responsibility.
Yeah.
Even if I'm like, it's not my job to educate people because blah blah blah. Like, I'm just a person and I just want to make art. Like, stop putting me up on. But okay, social media, regardless of how I see it, is its own entity.
Yeah.
And like, I can have any perspective that I choose to have on it, but the truth is that once I put my stuff out onto it, it lives in its own. It has its own life now.
Yeah.
And other people are going to consume that and interpret it. And so, yeah, it isn't my responsibility, but at the same time, like, I cannot negate the fact that people are going to be affected by my content. And so it is like, I can either take the responsibility or I can just say, fuck you and fuck it and fuck all of it. And like, I'm just going to do whatever I want, which is also valid.
Right.
Do your thing. That I just can't do it because I have so much anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, what are the trans kids thinking? What are they going to see? Oh my God, if they see this, are they going to start interpreting that like they should also have an eating disorder because I have an eating disorder?
Right.
Or like, they should get sober because I'm sober. And like, I really like overthink everything.
Yeah. I think like the overthinking part has like two, you know, just like all of this stuff. It's like there's parts that are like bullshit, and there's parts that are like truth that needs to be respected. And to me, you're having a platform is important. Like, I don't want to do any of this stuff, but I'm going to do it because of this podcast. And I think it's important. And I'm going to just try to be as like accountable as possible. But at the same time, people treat each other on the internet completely different than they do face to face. Just even like the medium itself, like a comment is like someone writes their comment and then there's no real like pause of interaction. Like there's no eye contact, there's no body language, there's no like, you can't tell if that person was saying it humorously or like seriously unless they like explain that it's seriously, but then you might have taken it seriously when they meant it humorously, and then you reply right away and then they didn't get a chance to finish their second reply. It's just, you know what I mean? So everybody just goes, oh, you know how people are on the internet. You know how people are on the internet. And it's like, basically it's like, you know, we all hate each other on the internet. You know, we all go at each other's throat all the time on the internet, you know? And so in a sense, like I see like that's partly a big aversion to using social media is like, I don't want to deal with that. Just frustration.
Yeah. I think also like, you know, most people don't have the capacity to just opt out of social media.
Yeah.
Because of their business or because of the, you know, you never know like where these people are living. Like some people live in like rural America where their only connection can be on the internet.
Whoa.
And like, you know, if you're trans in like Kansas or whatever, and you're like, you live on a farm, I don't know what Kansas people do, but I think some people live on farms still.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like your parents hate you and whatever. Like I'm
it's
just
definitely Animal Cross, if not real life. All right, sorry.
I'm just like saying that if you are starved for connection and community, it's a really important thing to have. But you know, there are so many cons to connecting with people on the internet, like you said. You know, not being able to really see them or hear them, how they're actually saying things. It's like, it's kind of dehumanizing, you know. It's taking the humanity out of debate and conversation, because you have this degree of separation where you're just like, you're able to like assume so much, and your mind, I mean my mind loves to make up the worst case scenario because it's like naturally defaulted on like a defense setting.
Yeah. Most people's minds are, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I guess like the internet is like a playground for that to exercise, you know?
Yeah.
If it's allowed to run wild, you know?
Yeah.
So I do have to like, I have to check myself like all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's like, there's also plenty of opportunity that people find on the internet as well, and connection. The reason how I came up with a podcast is because I was listening to other podcasts, and every time someone complained about online, like this fight, and they just didn't understand, or they would say stuff like, I just wish I didn't have anxiety. I would think to myself, like, dude, no one knows how to use the internet. It's like not realistic. Like humans evolved to communicate in a certain way for a really long time. And now this new technology is like completely different. Like we didn't evolve to, like, writing is like, I think like 5,000 years old or something, like really, really recent. Like writing itself is like a brand new technology. And now we're like wired to everybody. And I would just think, no one knows how to do this. It's just crazy. And then one day I was like, man, I wonder if there's a podcast. I should start a podcast on this. And I was like, I wonder. And I Googled internet in like, I didn't Google. I looked up internet in the Apple podcast, and there was people like trying to humorously talking to their parents how to use the internet, or like weird stuff they found, or like how to make your business. And there wasn't a podcast about like the internet's making us all nuts, and like we need to start talking to each other about it, because we all have these anxieties. We're all afraid to be canceled. We all feel like maybe, I don't know, a lot of times people feel just when you're canceling someone. Like no one's like, oh, poor Bill Cosby, he was canceled. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like these fears are real, and it's played out every day. But I think what's funny is when I started to talk to you about it, and you started to talk to your friends about it, everyone has something to say about like how I was in this internet interaction and it was awful, or like I was really confused, or I would love to just keep putting my art out, but I don't know why I get so like tired and things like that. It's so I think that's what's interesting, is all these points are valid because we're all new to this.
Yeah. That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
That this is so new, because humans are we are old.
Yeah.
Humanity is old.
Mm-hmm.
But this stuff is like so recent in comparison to how long we've been evolving.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we expect to be professionals?
Mm-hmm.
I love the video, or the podcast and the videos of people teaching other people, or like having classes to teach people how to use the internet
Mm-hmm.
to benefit their business or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really like you know, in the beginning of a YouTube video, and they're just like, hey, are you tired of putting your art out there and you don't get any clicks? Just click this link below and I'll teach you all the secrets you need to know about how to build your internet business.
Yeah.
And then you click it, and I mean, I've clicked it.
Mm-hmm.
I clicked it just to hear the secret, right? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's so strategically placed, like in a video that's going to be like, you know, monetized, or like you have to like pay for, right?
Right.
And so it's like, it's so stupid. He's doing exactly what he's teaching people to do in his class that you pay for. Right.
Yeah. That's funny. Whoa. Yeah. There's a lot of like weird, manipulative feedback loops that we've just accepted. And I mean, for me, like, I see a place for that. Okay, I see a place for... There's a place for advertisement and advertising your art, but I don't think that should be the artist's focus. And to me, that's something where I have a sense that having a discussion around this with other artists... So if you're listening right now and you're an artist, please email us. And we'll say the email at the end of the pod, but I want to encourage as many artists as we can to like reach out, so we can talk about their struggles or their successes, and just I just want to create like a kind of a safe space for artists to discuss this stuff, and then hopefully we can actually help each other out, and we don't have to feel so nervous about like our lack of income when it comes to art, and our lack of traffic. It can just be like about art and just being comfortable doing a little bit at a time. I mean, we've already recorded a bunch of podcasts with other artists, and I know I've certainly felt like a lot better hearing like someone who's really successful just talk about that they have to be mindful about what they're posting, because the Black Lives Matter movement is happening right now, and they have the struggle of like, should I put my art out there or should I not? And you know, pretty much the common understanding is like, yeah, don't put it out there right now.
Yeah, just don't do it.
But it's like, then it's like, okay, cool. I heard them do it. I hear Ezra do it. I'm doing it. Like, this is what's more important.
Yeah.
And I don't need to worry about like my followers right now.
Yeah. Speaking on that, I got called out like 3 days ago, or called in. Somebody changed my perspective on that phrase, getting called out. They're like, no, they're calling you in for a conversation. I was like, oh, okay.
Hopefully.
I mean, yeah, sure, call me in, let's talk.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but there's a thing that maybe there's a lot of times when someone goes, hey, let me tell you about my perspective.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I kind of see it differently. And then it's just like, well, you're a fucking idiot. And I fucking think you're just a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's not really a conversation. It's harassment. But anyways, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. Well, anyway, insightful, David. They were like, so I went on a run, and usually I don't take my phone, but this night in particular, I did, and I saw some beautiful things. I took pictures of them, and then I posted them on my story, and it was like, not that big of a deal. Like, I just thought, and this was like 5 days ago, 6 days ago, maybe.
In late June.
So the movement's been happening for over a month, and my feed has mostly been Black Lives Matter information, just in general. And then this was the first night that I decided to post something that wasn't that, and I posted a couple pretty pictures that I took on my run. And somebody immediately responded and was like, shouldn't you be using your platform to uplift Black voices and Black art and promote the movement? And I really sat with that for a second, because I was like, yeah, of course I should. And and then I immediately wanted to get on the defensive and be like, well, I have been, like, look at, have you been looking at my, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then I was just like, yeah, you're right. I should be. And I also don't think that posting beautiful things that I see is taking away from the movement. But I've been really trying to find the balance. So, that's what I said. That's how I responded. And then I did post on my story a screenshot with blocking their name out, obviously. And I was just like, hey, this is something to keep in mind. Like, artists need to make art still, and so it's hard to find the balance between, making content regarding the Black Lives Matter movement and also just posting a pretty flower, so I don't have a clear answer on that. So if you do have opinions about that, feel free to tell me them. What do you think about that?
I think you're on the right path. But again, I'm so new to all of this stuff that my main focus when all this stuff is, I want to hold myself accountable to these discussions. If I say I really care about people, then if people are bringing up issues that are making me uncomfortable because we're not caring about certain people, then I have to ask myself honestly, do I really care about people? But just when it comes to this stuff in the internet, my take is that, and honestly, it's because of the interviews we've already done, is that it's all messy. There isn't a balance. You can try your best and find a personal balance for that day or for that week, but it just seems like it's all a big mess, and we're all sorting it out a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to issues like social justice and looking out for the oppressed, it can be overwhelming, and it can be frustrating when you see how other people aren't doing enough or like quiet about it. And so then there's like this kind of compare and contrast type stuff that also comes with it. Because maybe that person never looked at your feed up until that day. So they might have missed all the stuff you were posting.
Right.
And they might have really felt cool, like, oh yeah, Ezra's an ally, or I'm really glad he's sharing this information, or I'm, just glad I have another friend who cares about this type of stuff. Because I know that I had that. I was kind of looking at my friends that are not like woke at all, but I would be like, okay, you made your profile black picture, like, all right, like maybe you're hiding out a bit, but like I had other friends that didn't do that, It would be like, remember his name, George Floyd, and then the next panel would be them like a boomerang shot with them in their ice cream cone. Like, yeah. And I was just like, this is fucking stupid. Like,
yeah.
This is not. I don't know. I don't know how it's to be a good ally, and I don't know what activism looks like, but I know it's not you with an ice cream cone. And so I just would have this kind of, I just would compare myself. And I do that with artists too. I think on the next podcast, or one of the podcasts, we have to talk about envy, because I think in the earlier ones we talked about a little bit, but envy to me is a big part of the internet, where you see like people, fellow artists that you feel in competition with, and it's like, oh look, they got another gig, or they have so many followers and I don't, and they don't message me back, and so I think it's just a big fucking mess, and and that's what's so weird, is I feel that's what's interesting about the internet, is like you have to let people, it's just you, there's no control on how people are going to perceive you, but I think authenticity is just the one thing that at least you can hold on to, and people will still shit on that, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Should we take another break?
Sure.
Let's take another break.
Okay.
So I want to get some coffee.
Okay. And we're back.
We are back. How was your break?
It was good. I climbed a mountain and I flew a plane across the world, and then I learned some Justin Timberlake dance moves.
Oh my god, you were like really on it with that time. All I did was like pour myself a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Wow, David. Yeah. I'm impressed. I mean, yeah, you are pretty sweaty though. Like
Yeah. And I can't wait to humble brag about it all on my.
You already started.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Humble brag. Anyways.
Humble brag. How do you humbly brag? Humbly brag at me right now about your art. Tell me about your art. You could probably do it.
To me, humble brag is like you first praise things that like are important and not about you, and then you talk about how you were like so lucky to be part of it. So it's like, I just want to like, from Bach to Jimi Hendrix and all the different cultural artists out there that have worked really hard on refining, instruments and composition. I just feel so lucky to be a part of it all. My new album, I released a new mixtape, and it's just a little testament to be a part of this thing. And it's by this really awesome record company, and I just feel so fortunate, and I hope that my music can also inspire other people.
Wow, Nini, that was good.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, that sent chills down my spine.
Yeah. It's so like.
But I also want to listen to that mixtape now.
Yeah.
That album.
It's
sounds really good.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I released a bunch of my music over the years, because I never really had it professionally produced yet, and I was going to, but then I got this injury, which I'll talk about another time. But I put some stuff online that I was like, I'm just going to mention it once to people, and I guess now I'm mentioning it again on the podcast. It's like, here's like the music I made over the 10 years. I was like, I told myself I'm only going to share this with people I respect, because I respect what I did, and so if I share this with a person I respect, um, any attention they give it to me is like I'm grateful for. It doesn't. I don't want it to be like, oh man, I need more followers. I need more followers. You know, it's just like, oh hey, like I really respect you as an artist. You know, here's some music if you're ever curious what I've done, and if you like it or if you know someone else you like it, just feel free to share it to them, and just share with someone you respect. It's just this is just for me for the art's sake. It's not at all for like I don't know. I just felt comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't have to share this every day.
Well,
And-
your music really speaks for itself too. I think. Like when you told me that you make music, I remember being like, oh, it's probably like some folky whatever, and then you showed me your stuff, and I was like, I just was speechless. Like I was just so confused. Not to say that like I didn't expect you to be like that talented, but it just came out of nowhere. I guess I didn't expect you to be that talented.
Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah, and that's why I just like it means more to me that you like it than like any like how do I put like validation. Does that make sense? Like I didn't I didn't I fell in love with music because it made me feel like Kurt Cobain's music. That's when I fell in love with music. Made me feel seen and like validated, and it was like from a different time. He was like, he'd been dead for a long time by that point, and it still spoke to me. And that's how I like my music. Like that's how I want it to be. It's just like if it affects someone like music affected me, that feels good. That feels authentic. I can put as much energy as I want into it, and as much like honestly, as much like fucked up stuff about myself as I can. Like I don't have to feel weird about it.
Yeah.
Like I could if it's coming from a place of like I'm struggling with like this racism or something, I can be as authentic as I want about it. And as long as it speaks to someone else in a way where they're like, fuck man, that made me really feel some shit. And like that's all I want. I don't want it to be like, wow, that song was great. It should go on the radio. Like that's just not me. So I just appreciate that compliment. And I actually am proud that I figured out a way to put my music online that I felt comfortable with, because I sat on my music for like 10 years and didn't put it online, and told myself, well, I gotta wait till I get produced. I gotta figure out how to like do an Instagram following, but I don't want to try and like do that type of stuff. So I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah. My dream is that one day I get famous enough that, or I make enough money, and that I can hire somebody to run my social media for me. That's like my ultimate goal. I just don't want to be in charge of it.
Yeah.
Because anytime like I try to manage it and I try to like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this because then it'll really. Other than like the surefire things that I know will get likes, which is like I said before, the before and after pictures. Other than that, it is a fucking hit or miss show.
Yeah.
Like it is so. Like I lose like up to 70 followers a day. If I post like one like scandalous photo, like I lose so many followers. Like I cannot like think about it too much, because otherwise I just won't post anything. Like, and I definitely like don't like the fact that I can see how many followers I lose and gain and all that. I just, oh my God, it's so annoying. Because that makes me want to sit on my stuff too. It makes me want to sit on my music and just not release it. Because like, but then every once in a while I'll post something, I'll put a song out there, and some little kid from Arkansas messages me and says, like, that really helped me. Or, I'll go live one night and I'll hang out with like 7 people for like an hour, and they'll message me saying like, that was so helpful, thank you so much, whatever. And just those little tiny things that happen that are real
Mm-hmm.
keep me coming back to it, you know, because I'm like, oh my God, well, how many other kids are out there that want to talk at 1 a.m, you know, on live, or whatever it is. And it's like, fuck, like I can't, it's just, I don't want to give up.
Yeah.
But it is really challenging to know what to say, what to do, and how to do it, and when to do things, and all of that bullshit that comes with, you know, manipulating the algorithm.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take the time to learn how to professionally manipulate an algorithm.
Yeah. In
order to be a successful artist.
Right.
That to me just feels so inauthentic.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I think that there is a way to do it where you're not inauthentic, like where you are authentic, but only specific people are capable of that.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, well, I have some goals for the podcast, and I had the privilege of working as a graveyard security guard for like 6 years until actually I just recently lost my job, but I had the time to learn all this stuff, and I got really good at learning. So one of the goals I have is to read different books and to bring them into the discussion. And part of that would be reading about algorithms and social media type stuff, to where, you know, I just want to empower the artist as much as I can. And I think, I hope that like this podcast gets a lot of support really quickly so that we can start supporting artists really quickly. So if we have like a big following, then like I would love to find an artist to have like 20 followers or 300 followers and just like, boom, cool. Like, look at this audience. I know we have help from Bob, the drag queen. And so we'll have like some listens, like more than my 3 followers.
More than we would have without a production company.
But definitely want to extend that hand. Like,
absolutely.
I really want us artists to feel like less defeated by this. And part of it also is just fucking time. Like, that to me was why I felt so privileged at my job, because I had 8 hours to myself to do what I wanted. And so I was like, cool, I'm going to get my mental health checked. I'm going to learn about music. And I'm going to learn about evolution, because that just trips me out. And anyways, like, I just feel like I'm lucky enough to have the time to where I can talk about anxiety and things like of that nature on a podcast and draw from that knowledge. Whereas I know a lot of artists just are struggling. They don't have the time. They're working a job, and then they get like 2 or 3 hours at night to work on it. And then they have a weekend. And to me, that just is, I know how hard that is, because I had to do that too. And if you don't have the enthusiasm for marketing yourself, I just can see that it's kind of very depressing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I can definitely spiral out about it. Like, I mean, even a couple minutes ago right now when I went on that rant about how frustrating it is, like I don't want this entire podcast to be us just complaining.
Yeah.
You know, but I also think that allowing the space to share how acutely frustrating it actually is,
right,
rather than glossing over it as we do in our culture now, where we're just like, well, that's just just the way it is. Like, oh, we just gotta fucking deal with it. Like, fuck that. I don't think that that's helpful. Just like with anything that ails us, like, we have to acknowledge it in order to like actually move past it. And with this system, like, I know this is a big task, but like, I do think that there's a way to use social media in a way that isn't degrading and dehumanizing, but I don't know what that way is. Yeah. And so I think the ultimate goal for me as a person in the world in 2020 who makes art is how do I use this and to my benefit and not my detriment. Yeah. And how do I keep my sanity, and how do I keep my authenticity, and use this as a tool to help me connect with people rather than feeling isolated and unmotivated and disheartened.
Yeah.
You know, like, and obviously, like, we're gonna have ups and downs.
Yeah.
Because we're human, but like, I don't want the conversation of the frustration of the internet and the insanity of the internet to just be like a casual sort of like, oh, you know, it's just the way it is. Like, I don't like that. Like, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to discuss.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really excited about this project.
Me too. And I feel a lot of people will have a lot more to say. And it'll, I don't know. I have a good feeling about the turnout of all this, the more participation we get from other people, because, you know, there's a lot of voices, a lot of artists out there that can say more than just us two. And yeah, it's humbling to think that it might really help out a lot of people, and it's also nerve-wracking a little bit, but I think that's just how it is if you want to participate in society at a big level, you know. So please email us at internetindsanitypod@gmail.com if you want to be on or you have any comments. We also have an Instagram, Internet Insanity Pod on Instagram. If you're an artist and you'd like to be on, again, email us or DM us. If you know an artist that you would like to be on, just ask, you know, tell them to DM us. And what else?
I think that's it.
Do you want to plug your Instagram?
Oh yeah, I'll plug it in.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Ezra Michel Music, and Michel is spelled Michel. Ezra Michel Music.
And I'm Virtual David Jean. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.
I love you. I love you so much. Oh, you're the best. All right. That's it.
Yeah.